Welcome to the part 2 of the video series on comparison of unlike fractions. In the part 1, we discussed how to compare unlike fractions when they have same numerators. So in these examples, when we compare the unlike fractions, they had equal or same numerators. 3, 3, 2001, 2001, right? But imagine a condition like for the same diagram. If I say that if I take one more shaded portion, let's take this one. And now if I ask what fraction is this representing, if I say that it is 4 by 5, 6, sorry. It's 4 by 6. Okay. What shaded fraction of shaded portion will be represented by if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is 8. So the shaded fraction represented by these 8 shaded portions will be 8 by 30. So you have this time 4 by 6, 8 by 30. Two unlike fractions, this time they have even numerators different. Then can you apply the method that we discussed in the part 1? Of course not, no way. Because you cannot look at these 4 shaded portions and then look at these 8 shaded portions and then you can tell that which one, which fraction is greater and which fraction is smaller of these two. That's not easy. Because in the case of unlike fractions, when they had same numerator, then you can tell that, hey, since the single block in this case, the single portion in this case will be larger than this one, therefore 3 portions of this block will be greater than the 3 portions of this whole block. But not in this case. How will you compare it? It's 4 by 6 and it's 8 by 13. It's not easy. So to do such comparisons, like if I take the same one, that is 4 by 6 and what was it? 8 by 13. 8 by 13. Okay. How will you do this? How will you do this? To do such questions, always remember what you have to do is change the fractions like this fraction in its respective equivalent fraction. Okay, I hope you remember equivalent fractions. I'm not going to discuss that because we have already done we have devoted a separate video lecture on this one. So you have to change this fraction into its respective equivalent fraction, and you have to change this fraction into its respective equivalent fraction in a way that both the equivalent fractions have same denominator. And let me tell you, the way to find equivalent fractions in such a way that they have equal or same denominator is always try to find the common multiple of these two denominators. And also, even in that, if you are talking about common multiple, then why not talk about least common multiple? Any common multiple will help in solving these two questions, such questions, but LCM will save our time because LCM tells you the smallest possible common multiple, right? That will save our time and that will ease our calculations. So, in order to find the equivalent fractions of this fraction and this fraction in a way that they have same denominator, try to find the common LCM of 6 and 13. So if I try to find LCM of 6 and 13, this is 6 and this is 13. So this is 2, 3, 13. This is 3, 1 and 13. And then this is 30. So LCM will be 2 times 3 times 13. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 13 is what? 78. So the LCM is 78. LCM is what? LCM is 78. Okay. So if LCM is 78, that means this number has to be denominator. This number has to be denominator in the equivalent fractions of this one and in this one. So in order to make the denominator of the equivalent fractions for this one, let's say this is the equivalent fraction and this has to be 78. By what number I should multiply 6 by what number that it will make 78? So divide 78 by 6. This will be 6 times 1 is 6 minus 1, and this is 18. This is 6 times 3 is 18. So if I multiply 6 by 13, it will make it 78, right? If I multiply 6 by 13, it will make 78. Now remember, when you make equivalent fractions, then you multiply the numerator and denominator with the same number. Okay? If you are writing equivalent fractions, then you write the equivalent fractions, or you find the equivalent fractions when you multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And if you are converting this or changing this or writing the equivalent fraction of this particular fraction having denominator 78, to make the denominator 78, you have to multiply 6 by 13. Therefore, you will multiply the numerator, that is 4, also with 13. And if you multiply 4 with 13, that will give you 52. That will give you what? 52. Okay? Now, I have to write 8 by 13 in its equivalent fraction in a way that the numerator comes 78. The numerator comes 78. So by what number I'll multiply 13 to make it 78? So if you divide 78 by 13, you'll get 6 as the quotient. Okay? Divide 78 by 13, you'll get 6 at the quotient. That is, you have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 6 in order to make an equivalent fraction of this 8 by 13 having 78 as the denominator. So you multiply 13 with 6, you will get 78. You multiply 8 with 6, you will get 48. Is it okay? Okay. Let me repeat again whatever we have done to this point. Two fractions, unlike fractions. Even in the unlike fractions, they have different or unequal numerator. In such conditions, what you will do is you will write the equivalent fractions, the respective equivalent fractions of the given fraction in a way that they have the denominator as the LCM. Any common multiple can, do the work, but finding LCM will save our time, because it will save, it will shorten our calculation. So if you try to find the LCM of 6 and 13, it will give you 78. Now in order to have an equivalent fraction having denominator 78, you have to multiply 6 with 13. Since you are multiplying 6 with 13, you will also multiply numerator, that is 4, with 13. This will give you an equivalent fraction, and similarly you will do in this case. Now you can clearly see that after doing this, what we have done, we have converted these two fractions into like fractions. How? Look at their denominator. Now denominators of these two fractions are same, are equal. That makes it like fraction. And if you remember, if you are comparing like fractions, then the fraction having the greater or the larger numerator is the larger fraction. In this case, 52 is greater than 48. Therefore, that makes this fraction, that is 52 by 78, greater than 48 by 78, right? Why? Because these two fractions are like fractions. In any given like fractions, that fraction will be greater which has the larger or the greater numerator. So this will be the way. So always try to find the LCM, and then by finding LCM, convert into an equivalent fraction having denominator as LCM, and then you can compare. By doing that, you will make fractions as like fractions, and then you can compare very easily. So that will be the way. Okay. In the next videos, we will have some problems related to comparison of like fractions and like fractions, and okay, I mean comparison of like fractions and comparison of unlike fractions when you have same numerator and when you have different numerators. Okay, thanks for watching.